You know, when you're a YouTuber, especially one like me who hunts down abandoned places, there's this rush, this excitement about finding something no one else has ever seen. But what I stumbled upon that night wasn't just an old building. It was something darker, much darker. And honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around what really happened. It all started when I got a tip from one of my followers about this old lab hidden in the mountains. Apparently, it had been abandoned for decades. No one could even tell me what kind of experiments they did there. I thought, hey, this would make a great video, right? Classic spooky vibes, perfect for my channel. But I never expected to uncover the real reason the place was shut down. So there I was, standing at the entrance of this massive, decaying building. The gates were rusted shut, but a little work with some tools got me in. The air was thick, like it hadn't moved in years. Dust everywhere, the kind that gets into your throat and makes you cough every few steps. I'll be honest, I was nervous. Something felt off right from the start. There was this silence, too quiet even for a place like that. No wind, no birds, nothing, just me and my camera. As I ventured deeper, I noticed how the hallways seemed to twist and turn in ways that didn't make sense. Old, faded warning signs lined the walls. Hazardous materials, keep out, biohazard. You know, the usual abandoned lab stuff. I figured it was a government lab, maybe some chemical experiments, that sort of thing. But as I kept walking, the feeling of being watched started creeping up on me. At first, I brushed it off. I mean, being alone in a place like that, it messes with your head. But then, it got worse. I finally reached what seemed like the main lab area. The doors were cracked open, and when I pushed them aside, my flashlight revealed these metal tables. Chains, actual chains, were bolted to the sides. And in the corners, glass containers, the kind used for experiments. But they weren't empty. Some had dried up bloodstains inside them. Others had. Well, I couldn't even begin to describe what was in them. It looked like someone or something had been held there. At that moment, I remember thinking, what the hell happened here? I filmed everything, of course, but the more I explored, the more disturbing it got. I found old documents scattered across one of the tables. They were half-burned, probably an attempt to cover things up before the lab was shut down. But some parts were still readable. That's when I saw the name Project Sangu. I didn't know what it meant at the time, but I'd soon find out. According to those papers, this lab wasn't just some regular government facility. They were conducting human experiments, ones designed to push the limits of science and human endurance. They wanted to create something beyond human, something that could heal faster, live longer, and possess abilities unlike anything we've seen before. But there was one experiment in particular that went horribly wrong. The scientists took it too far. They were trying to modify human DNA, using animal traits, specifically those of predators. And the result? A creature that wasn't just stronger, faster, or more resilient. No, this thing had developed a thirst for blood. Human blood. They called it the sanguis, Latin for blood. What I found was that this lab was responsible for creating the first vampire, if you could call it that. Not the folklore vampire, but a real, living organism that needed to feed to survive. The documents mentioned how the creature escaped, killing everyone in its path, and that's when the government came in and shut the entire place down. But here's the thing, I never found the creature itself. As I kept digging through the lab, the feeling of being watched became unbearable. Every creak, every shadow out of the corner of my eye felt like something or someone was right behind me. My camera didn't pick up anything unusual, but my gut was telling me otherwise. I reached what seemed like the lab's holding area, where they kept the creature before it escaped. The steel bars were bent out of shape, like something had forced its way out with unnatural strength. The floor was covered in scratches, long and deep, like claws had torn into the concrete. By this point, I was genuinely freaked out. I could feel something in the air, that oppressive weight of fear. And that's when I heard it. A soft whisper, almost like a breath on the back of my neck. I spun around, shining my flashlight in every direction, but nothing. Just the empty lab, staring back at me. But that sensation, the cold, unnerving sense that I wasn't alone, it stayed with me. I couldn't shake it. Didn't stick around after that. I got my footage, grabbed what documents I could, and bolted for the exit. But even as I left the lab behind, that feeling of being watched never went away. It was as if something or someone was following me, even after I got back to my car. The legend of the vampire might be older than we think. What if it didn't start with some ancient tale from Europe, but right here in this forgotten lab? What if the creature they created is still out there, watching, waiting for its next victim? Maybe that's why no one ever found the lab. Or the monster. So what do you think? Could the vampire legend we all know be based on something far more terrifying than we imagined? Let me know in the comments what you think. And if you ever find yourself near an abandoned lab, maybe think twice before going inside. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones science creates.